And today's eMoney tip of the week, we're going to continue our 7-part series on stock options. My good friend and colleague, Will Boney from Embark Financial Partners is here to join us. He's going to be with us this entire 7-part series. Will taught me everything I know about stock options inside of eMoney. And quite frankly, he's the best I've seen at it. So Will and I've been talking over the past year at different conferences, said we need to get together and we need to do a joint eMoney tip of the week because it's better to learn this from him than it is from me. I'm also excited because this is the most requested thing we've seen from our followers is, Greg, can you show us stock options? So I had to get Will here to show this. Again, it's going to be a 7-part series, so tune in for them all. Today, we're going to continue right where we left off in the part 1, and we're going to focus on restricted stock unit input.
But let's turn now to actually getting some of these entries into the tool. Oftentimes, and this is rule number 1, never, ever, ever, ever link or allow a link to the client's stock option account to persist on the client's website. Linking accounts can bring in some of the options into the plan and simplify some of the data entry process. Can. More often than not, it's going to be wildly inaccurate. And the reason it's inaccurate more often than not is the technology they use to pull that data into the plan does not account for the fact that some of those options have already been exercised. Maybe you have RSUs or something that has passed out of the plan. Well, it's still part of the grant and the software still thinks it's there. And anytime you leave that connected, it can actually override all the great manual work that we're about to do here. And then you're back at square one, rebuilding the entire option entry. So you can use a connection to initially set these up, but then immediately unlink it. Personally, with my clients, what I do is I will put in my manual entry name, do not link, because I've had it happen just a few too many times where a client's like, oh, I want to update this. And they're tech savvy and they go out there and they link the account and then it completely wipes out all the manual work that we've done. And then it's inaccurate in the plan. So
my meeting just prior to this, I had to lock somebody down from changing their expenses. They kept hitting little red X's, next expenses. And I was like, well, how are these expenses different than what I saw last night? I was in here. So, and I get this question all the time too. Greg, Fidelity net benefits, doesn't Fidelity owe eMoney? And I'm like, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Yeah. Do not connect these through. So that's a great point.
So don't connect it. So oftentimes we're going to be working off of statements, or even better, try to get an Excel download from the client. And almost all the platforms, excepting UBS may have the functionality. I work with quite a few stock option clients. That typically is the hardest one to really distill good information for planning from based off of the statements. But most of the platforms that are out there, you can actually have the client go out and download a description of all of their options, what's vested, what are the cost bases, and that is going to be a massive help if you can get that, because otherwise you're going to be working from statements that don't align with how we're necessarily going to be illustrating. It's the same data, but it's just presented very, very differently. So, but once you get all that information, entering the option in the grant is actually really simple. So let's start with the simplest of options. What we see more often than not is RSUs. So let's just make an RSU grant. In my nomenclature, I always like to clarify first what type of grant it is, and then the month of the grant. So RSU grant, January 2022, 1/1/2022. In this case, we're doing RSUs. Of course, big difference between restricted stock awards and restricted stock units. But for eMoney purposes, we're going to put them in the same entry, and that is as restricted. So let's go ahead and drop 2,500 shares in. Because these are restricted stock units, there is no strike price or exercise price that we have to deal with. The client, when the stock vests, is going to get that full value coming over into their plan. It's going to be taxed a specific way, and eMoney is going to take care of all that in the background for you. So we're going to do an exercise price of 0. Expiration, eMoney always wants something here. I just pick something way out in the future, and you'll be fine. If you actually have that data, of course, put the right amount in there. And this is where we're going to get to some of the pro tips, because I see a lot of mistakes happen here, and I see a lot of people really get bogged down into how to put these vesting schedules in correctly. And so let's always start with a simple schedule. Always, always, always. And so these are going to start their vesting process in January 1st of 2023. And we're going to vest these monthly. 36 is going to be the number of vesting periods. And the first vesting period is going to have 500. You'll see this fairly frequently in the first vesting period. You're going to see a spike in the amount of shares that's coming through, and then it'll kind of levelize after that. Now, if you're going to see when you actually look at that vesting schedule, you may have different shares coming in at different months, but the easiest way to get those in is to start with this simple schedule, put in all the data, and then hit freeform, and then it frames up your entire table for you. So if there's any variation to how those shares are going to roll, sometimes you see annual spikes, you can come in and adjust it. The other alternative is to sit there and clicking add entry for every single line. So let the software help you frame up that simple schedule. And then if you need to freeform it, more often than not, you're not going to need to, but if you need to freeform it, go ahead and flip it over to freeform at that point, and it'll create the entire table for you. So that's restricted stock option entries.
We hope this tip helped educate and empower you to do more plans for your clients so that you can impact more lives through financial planning. If you have some great tips we don't know about, we'd love to hear about them. If you have a better way of doing what we just showed you, we'd love to hear about that, because we are a noble profession, and together we can elevate the profession.